In case you don't know, I really don't care about weight. I just want the best tool for the job. We have somehow been sold this lie that mirrorless equals lighter and smaller. That's not always the case. But I know some of you do care about weight, which is why I thought it would be fun today to tell you how all 6 of these lenses fit on the Nikon Z5. I think first we'll start with the Nikon Z 20mm f1.8s, which is great because anything that you would generally be using 20mm for, you don't really need a super high performing camera for. We're talking landscape, we're talking architecture, we're talking street stuff. You really don't need a super fast camera for it. And so this is kind of a awesome combination anyway. And so I would say, feels really good. It's got good weight to it. Fits in the hand excellently. Cool, the Nikon Z5 and Nikon Z 20mm f1.8s. I think next we'll do the Nikon Z 24mm f1.8s. This lens really surprised me. I wasn't expecting it to be even close to the ballpark of the 20mm, and in reality, it is. It actually does some things better. You almost can't differentiate between the 24 and the 20mm as far as the weight goes. It feels really excellent. And again, we're in that territory where the things that you would be using a 24mm for, you don't really need a super fast performing camera. So it makes the Z5 a good pairing with the 24mm. As far as the weight goes, as far as the balance goes, it's pretty fantastic. Feels really good, nice and balanced, nice and solid feeling. Good grip, doesn't feel like it's falling forward on you or falling backwards on you. Excellent combo. Moving on to a much bigger lens lengthwise and girth-wise, the Nikon Z 105mm f2.8s. Yeah, the macro lens. Bigger? Yes, but this is actually a really lightweight lens. I don't feel weird doing this. I do a little bit. I've done some videos shooting macro with the Z5, so I already know that this feels really good. Even though it's long, you can only barely feel a forward lean from the length, but it's not an uncomfortable hold. Again, if you're shooting macro, you don't need the super fast performance in a camera, making the Z5 a really good mechanical fit for the Nikon Z 105 f2.8s. Always forget to say the MC, the Nikon Z MC 105mm f2.8s. Something else you might use the 105 for, it's excellent for portraits. And so again, you don't need a super high performing camera. We got a little bit of a forward lean going on here, but again, we can just barely feel it wanting to tilt forward, but nice, good support. You're gonna be totally fine. This is a great combination weight-wise. Now we're going to get into the beefy lenses here, the big ones. And I think the first big one we'll do is the Nikon Z 50mm f1.2s. Size-wise, it's only slightly longer than the Nikon Z 105. Not that much bigger around either. However, the weight difference is pretty big. Well, this is pretty much going to rest right there if that's where you hold the camera. A lot of forward lean. Oh yeah, lots of forward lean. Puts a decent amount of pressure right here. Once you pop it up here, you're totally fine. Obviously, you're not shooting this with one hand anyway, but just talking like how does it feel? It feels a little silly. But again, 50mm f1.2, the things you might be shooting with that, probably not going to be hyper action or anything like that. Maybe some portraits, maybe some street stuff. Yeah, I'm trying to talk nice about it because I do love the Z5 and I do love the 50mm f1.2, but it feels pretty front heavy. Totally appropriate, but just talking about feel, a little bit silly. Uh-oh. Moving on now to the Nikon Z 135mm f1.8s plena. Already know how this is gonna feel. Surprisingly, actually a little bit better than the 50mm f1.2. And that's probably why. It's got a good, oh, what is that, about an inch or better on the length of it. And so it does feel a little bit better. It feels definitely better whenever you support it. I actually don't feel like it's that heavy, or maybe it's just better balanced. Oddly enough, this does feel more comfortable on the Z5 than the 50mm f1.2. I suppose you could use the 135 f1.8 plena for maybe kind of some shorter distance action, maybe, but I'm only using this for portraits really. So function-wise, it's a good pairing. it's always better to have good glass than a super fine camera. Glass all day. Glass is always going to win. And so if you have a Nikon Z5 and you're thinking about getting the plena, I would just say go for it. You can't go wrong with it. It's going to work great. Surprisingly feels pretty good on there, but yeah, it's front heavy. You can feel it resting about right there for sure. And finally, the Nikon Z 85mm f1.2s. My current favorite lens of all time. It is so big. You can feel it leaning on this part of your finger pretty heavily. Even supported, it kind of sits awkward when it's supported just because it's so fat. You either have the camera sitting right here and like a weird spot on your hand, or you kind of feel like you're reaching out really far just because it's so incredibly fat. Now, functionally, the only thing I would shoot with the 85-1.2 is portraits, making the Z5 totally appropriate in its use case. But I mean, we can see that has got a real heavy dip on it. I wouldn't probably dare do that with one finger. Maybe I will for y'all. Very heavy, and it's very awkward. But I've done portrait shoots with this for the YouTube channel. You can go check them out. It works great. The images look fantastic. Of course they do. But just talking about the feel, it's a little bit awkward. But you know, oddly enough, where I thought the 85-1.2 would feel the strangest, I actually think that the Nikon Z 50mm f1.2 does feel the weirdest on the Nikon Z5. However, don't let this video change your mind if you're thinking about getting the 50-1.2 or any of these lenses. Sure, some of them are going to feel more awkward. This is Nikon's lightest full frame. It's their least expensive. Don't let how a lens feels on a camera really influence your decision that much, because you're going to be much happier with a really fat, nice piece of glass, because the fat, nice glass, it's just so juicy. Glass. I'm Z Wade, the Z Wade, and Z Wade Photo. Stay sharp, YouTube.